I promised myself strength. I promised dry eyes. I promised the mirror that pain would fail. I promised the nights no tears would fall. I promised the past no power over me. I walked like steel, smiled loud, inside silence. I carried storms quietly, wearing calm like armor. I told the world I healed already. I told my heart, be brave or break. I watched memories knock, doors shaking, locks trembling. I stood, still breathing, pretending peace, performing normal. I said, not today, not again, never again, but today. The promise shivered softly, cracked slowly. One thought, one name, one moment, one breath. My chest collapsed inward, like walls of sand. My eyes betrayed vows, salt burning, truth spilling. I didn't plan weakness. It arrived, uninvited. Tears fell, like confessions, unguarded, honest, undeniably human. I learned strength bends before it breaks loud. I learned silence screams when hearts stay full. I learned promises ache when memories still bleed. I cried, not loudly, but deeply, endlessly. I cried for years, stacked quietly inside ribs. I cried for words never spoken, never heard. I cried because loving means losing control sometimes. I cried because surviving is heavier than dying. I wiped my face, not ashamed, not defeated. I stood, again breathing, eyes swollen, soul open. I whispered, forgive me, to myself. First time I broke a promise, but saved my truth. And there, in tears, I found the beginning. I promised I would be strong. I promised I would not fall. I promised the world I would smile through storms. I told my heart to hold on through nights. I told my soul to stay quiet when pain screamed. I carried burdens like invisible chains around shoulders. I walked through shadows with light hidden deep inside. I hid my trembling behind smiles, behind laughter. I whispered to the wind, please carry my secret tears. I told the mirror not to notice my breaking inside. I held my fears like fragile birds inside my chest. I watched my memories dance like ghosts in empty rooms. I spoke to silence, and silence spoke back. I told myself, be brave, even when broken. I ran through moments of joy, clutching hope. I waited for nothing and everything at once. I learned healing is not linear. It's a river. I learned strength is not absence of weakness. I learned to let tears fall without shame, without guilt. I let myself shiver, my heart tremble, my eyes water. I wept for the past, for the lost, for what could never return. I cried for promises I could not keep, for love I could not save. I learned, love does not bind, it frees. I learned, pain does not destroy, it molds. I whispered to the night, thank you for letting me feel. I held my breaking like sacred treasure, like holy truth. I stood again, limping but alive, tears still wet. I whispered to the world, I broke, but I am still here. I promised, tomorrow I will rise even higher. I promised, my soul I will love, even through storms. I promised, my heart, to never forget, to never stop. I promised, my tears, they are proof, not weakness. And in the breaking, I found my courage. I promised myself to hold the pieces of my shattered heart and build them into wings. I told my soul, you are not weak because you bleed. You are strong because you feel. I walked through echoes of forgotten laughter and memories that burned like quiet fire. I carried burdens that nobody saw and wore smiles that hid silent storms. I whispered to the night, let my fears fade, let my pain turn into strength. I let the tears fall like soft rain, washing away shadows that lingered too long. I learned that love doesn't demand perfection, it accepts brokenness and still chooses to stay. I told my heart, it's okay to tremble, it's okay to ache, because even pain teaches grace. I spoke to the wind, and the wind answered, in whispers of courage and unspoken promises. I held moments that slipped through my fingers like grains of sand, and learned to cherish emptiness. I danced in silence, where no one watched, where no one judged, and found freedom there. I carried hope like a fragile flame through storms that raged and nights without stars. I told myself, you are worthy, even when the world ignores you, even when love forgets. I wept for dreams that die quietly, for promises that never came true. I found beauty in the ache of life, in the soft echoes of unspoken love. I promised tomorrow I would rise, even if today was heavy with sorrow. I promised my soul that each tear was a step forward toward light. I promised my heart to forgive itself for every mistake, for every silent cry. And in the breaking, I found something sacred, a strength unknown, a courage unclaimed. I whispered to myself, I am enough, even when the world says I am not, even when love fails to see. I held my heart, not as a burden, but as a treasure, and a witness to survival. I promised that, even in solitude, even in despair, even in silence, I will keep loving, I will keep rising, I will keep dreaming, I will keep being, even when the world forgets. My courage. And in the quiet moments, when the world slept, and the stars witnessed all I was, I realized that I was enough. I had nothing in my hands, yet everything in my heart. I had lost so much, yet I had gained a universe inside me. I promised to keep walking, even when roads were empty, even when love forgot me, even when I had no one. I promised to keep loving, even when unreturned, even when misunderstood, even when unnoticed. Because in the end, what matters is not what the world gives, but what you choose to hold, and the courage to keep giving it anyway. I promised the world I would stand tall, even when the ground beneath me shook, even when the winds whispered doubt, and the shadows of yesterday followed closely. I told my heart to keep beating, to keep loving through the cracks, to keep trusting even when betrayed, to hold on when everything felt lost. I walked through streets of silence, where laughter had no home, and memories lingered like ghosts, reminding me of everything I had given away. I carried the weight of unspoken words, the letters never sent, the apologies never made, and the dreams I buried quietly beneath my chest. I let my tears carve rivers of release, washing the remnants of pain, and nurturing the seeds of hope that I thought were long dead. I embraced the emptiness, and found it teaching me patience, showing me that strength does not roar, it whispers softly. I whispered to myself, you survived every storm. You loved every loss. You held every broken piece. And still, here you are. I remembered the faces that turned away, the hands that did not reach for mine, the hearts that abandoned. And yet, I still believed in love. I built my courage, like a fortress from fragile bones, and adorned it with the laughter of days I almost forgot. I promised that no one's shadow would steal my light again, that even if the world overlooked me, even if love looked past me, I would shine for myself. I spoke to the night, and the night answered, with stars that had watched me cry, fall, and rise again. I discovered that love is not always given. Sometimes it is held within, nurtured quietly, until it becomes unstoppable. I forgave the mistakes I made, for the hearts I could not save, for the words I could not speak, for the tears I could not stop. I whispered to my soul, you are infinite, even when life feels small, even when pain feels endless, even when hearts close around you. I carried my scars, like banners of survival, and my love, like a crown unseen but eternal. I promised that no one could take away my worth. No one could silence my heart. No one could erase. I promised myself that tonight I would rest, that the weight of memories would settle gently, that the rivers of sorrow would finally find their ocean, and that my heart, though heavy, would breathe. I remembered the promises I made to others, the hands I held, the words I whispered, the love I gave when it seemed no one noticed, and the tears I hid behind quiet smiles. I walked through the remnants of my past, the laughter that once filled rooms now empty, the dreams that slipped through fingers like sand, and the hearts that could not carry me home. I held on to the quiet victories, the mornings I woke despite despair, the days I smiled through pain, and the nights I whispered prayers into the dark. I realized that love is never lost, even when it is unreturned, even when it seems invisible. It lives inside you, shaping every step. I forgave those who could not understand, those who turned away, those who hurt, because their choices do not define my worth, and my heart is too vast to be held hostage. I found strength in the silence, courage in the solitude, and a universe of love. Within every scar, every tear, every whispered hope, I spoke to the stars, and they reflected my journey back to me, showing that every struggle, every heartbreak, was a seed for the love that now blooms inside. I promised to keep giving love, to keep believing in goodness, to keep my heart open, even when broken, to let it beat endlessly for those who understand. And now I stand, a woman shaped by years, by poverty, by loss, by joy, by love that never wavered, by strength that never yielded. I am nothing in the eyes of the world, yet everything to myself and to those I love. A heart that carried mountains, a soul that never surrendered. And if you have read these words, if they touch you, if they move you, I ask you now to comment, share. Let this story of endless love be heard. Let the courage of a heart that never gave up inspire. And let your own love grow, quietly, powerfully, endlessly. Comment below and share your thoughts. She had walked through decades of silence, through streets of neglect, through rooms of emptiness. Yet she carried a heart that never wavered, a soul that refused to bow to despair. Her hands were worn from labor, from giving, from holding on when the world let go. Her eyes held stories of sleepless nights, of tears shed quietly, unseen by anyone. Every scar on her skin, every wrinkle on her face, was a map of battles fought, losses endured. Yet her love never diminished, never faded. It shone brighter than any gold or jewel. She forgave when others would have hated. She smiled when her heart ached with longing. She gave when there was nothing to give. And in every act, love became her crown. Even when the world overlooked her, even when the lonely nights threatened to swallow her, she remained steadfast, unwavering, eternal, a quiet queen of a kingdom no one noticed. Her life was poor in wealth, but rich in laughter, in compassion, in memories, in the power to touch hearts, to heal wounds, to transform emptiness into something priceless. And though the years weighed heavily on her, her spirit carried on, resilient and unwavering, because love, she knew, was the only treasure that the world could never take away. She was 60 years of storms and quiet triumphs. Yet in her presence, every heart she touched felt the warmth of a love that defied time, a love that was limitless, unstoppable, sacred. Even now, as shadows of the past linger, she stands, unbroken, a monument of grace, teaching all who encounter her that true wealth is measured in love, not gold. Comment below if this story touched your heart. She woke each day before hope did, before light remembered her window, and still she rose with purpose, carrying yesterday without complaint. Her mornings tasted of struggle, but her prayers tasted of mercy. She spoke softly to the sky, asking for strength, not rescue. Time tried to harden her heart, but love kept it tender. Loss knocked again and again, yet she never learned hatred. She stitched broken days together, using patience as her thread, turning ordinary moments into quiet acts of courage. Her silence was never empty. It was full of endurance, full of names she still loved, full of dreams she never buried. When the world measured value in money, she measured it in kindness. When the world chased comfort, she chose dignity instead. She learned how to smile without reasons, how to stand when knees trembled, how to believe in tomorrow, even when today felt endless. Every goodbye taught her something. Every loss carved her deeper. Yet nothing managed to steal the gentleness from her soul. She was not loud, not celebrated, not written into anyone's history. Yet her love shaped lives quietly, like rivers shaping mountains unseen. And even now, with tired hands, and a heart heavy with years, she walks forward carrying proof that love can survive everything. She learned to live with absence, with chairs that stayed empty, with voices that existed only inside memory. Nights tested her the most, when silence grew heavy, when the heart spoke louder than the world ever did. She remembered promises broken, roads that led nowhere, hands that once held hers, and slowly let go. Yet she never cursed fate, never blamed the sky. She folded her pain inward, and walked on anyway. Her strength was not anger, not noise, not rebellion. It was waking up again, after wanting to disappear. She carried love like a duty, like breath, like faith. Even when love gave nothing back to her hands, people saw her aging body, but never saw the wars, never saw the courage required just to stay kind. She chose softness in a hard world, chose mercy over revenge, chose forgiveness When bitterness felt easier, her heart grew tired, not cold, heavy, but never cruel. And in that quiet endurance, she became something rare. She may have owned nothing. No land, no gold, no name. But her love remained untouched. And that made her eternal. She stayed, standing alone. When life kept leaving, tears fell silently down. But hope never died. She learned patience slowly through nights without stars. Her heart kept loving, even broken, even tired. She gave warmth freely to cold souls passing. No crown touched head, yet dignity never left. Pain taught her wisdom, loss taught her depth. She smiled for others while hiding own storms. Time passed, wrinkles formed, but love stayed young. She owned almost nothing, yet carried everything inside. Her life looked small, but meaning was endless. She proved quiet love outlives loud promises forever.